Hey, us as black folks, that's what we think. I remember when I was growing up, I didn't care. I was ready to eat on Thanksgiving, right? I didn't know none of the meaning on what it meant, what the turkey meant, what the cranberry sauce meant. I just knew that thing was delicious. And I couldn't wait. And I'd go to my grandma's house, I go to my auntie's house, I go to my cousin's house, I go to my homeboy's house. That was my plan for things. I'd map it out, where I'm gonna go. But guess what? We didn't know what those things mean. All those things have meaning. And you know what it is? It's the destruction of the so-called Native American Indians.
That's the truth. Hey man, you ain't subscribed yet? Stop playing games, man. Like, share, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell button, do the comments. Let's go.
What's your name, by the way? Azaria? How old are you? You're 19 years old. Are you planning? Do you have a boyfriend? You don't. Good. That's very good, sis. Now, do you plan on getting married eventually? You said no? Why not? Wow. You know that the woman was created for a man. You understand? Marriage, God honors marriage. You understand that? But we got to realize that in the society that we've been raised up in, because what the officer was going over, this man right here, or the so-called white man, has taught us nothing but lies, right? So now, bringing out your apparel and how you're supposed to dress and who you are biblically, now you're supposed to change. Because the reason why, what we didn't really dig into is the reason why these things happen to the so-called Native American Indians or the tribe of Gad is because all of the 12 tribes, we broke God's commandments. That's what we did. We walked contrary to God. So now what we got to do is come back to the Lord. All right, I want you to read Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 40 real quick. Read Lamentations 3 and 40. Because what we got to understand is, guess what? It's high time for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians to wake up and understand that you are the 12 tribes of Israel. And God, these people out here in purple right now, guess what? We out here to wake you up and bring you back to your nationality. Because you've been lost, you've been lied to by this so-called white man. But guess what? God said he loved you so much that he raised up all these men out here. All these men out here. What's your name again? Assyria. Do you see an offering plate up here? No, you ain't seen the offering plate. We don't want no money. We want you to understand that, guess what? You are the apple of God's eye. And the way that you are right now, that's not how God created you to be. Watch it. Read that Lamentations 3 and 40.
Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 40. Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Lord.
You hear what God says? God says we got to turn again to the Lord. Why? Because this white man has turned us away from the Lord. He gave us these Christian churches, white Jesus, and a false image of Jesus Christ, which Jesus Christ is actually a black man. So guess what? We got to come back to that, sis. We got to come back to our women. Go to Titus chapter 2 and verse 3. Because you said you don't want to be married. But guess what? The reason why you don't want to be married is because you haven't been taught about marriage. You got to come into a body of brothers and sisters to be able to teach you about marriage. Teaching you how it is, what it is to be a wife so that you're prepared to be a wife. Because if you don't, guess what you're going to do? You're going to end up like all these other people out here. Pregnant before marriage, broken family homes, things of that nature. All right? So in order to avoid that, God's laws protect us from all these things. But the white man says, guess what? He established these churches on these corners, and they teach you to break God's laws. So that's the reason why our neighborhoods and communities are in uproar. Because why? We don't keep the commandments of God. I want you to listen close. Read this.
Titus chapter 2 and verse 3. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness.
So it says the aged women likewise. In times past, that was our mothers, that was our grandmothers. But guess what happened? Because of this right here, because of colonization, guess what? We don't know any, our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers didn't know what right looked like. You know why? Because they were indoctrinated into those boarding schools that the officer was bringing out. And now they don't know, no longer know their heritage. So they don't have their heritage to be able to teach you. But guess what? God loved you so much that he established. He's reestablishing that. And that's why you got to come into the body so that you can learn from these elderly sisters. Watch this, read.
Not false accusers, not given to much wine.
So not given to much wine, because out in these reservations, guess what? A lot of our sisters, brothers and sisters, they give it to much wine, right? Watch this.
Teachers of good things.
Teachers of good things. So what's good things? What's good? Because your definition of good may be different from mine, right? If I asked everybody here what's good, somebody will have a different definition. But we got to go back to the biblical definition of what's good. I'm going to show you. Watch this.
Romans chapter 7 and verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy.
What? Read that again.
The law is holy.
It says the law is holy. The laws of God is holy. Watch this.
And the commandments holy. And just and good.
And what?
And good.
It says the commandments, the laws is just and holy and good. The laws of God. So you coming back into your natural fold as far as you dressing in your modest apparel with your dress, just like you seen here, before our forefathers and our foremothers were colonized, guess what? They was wearing dresses. So now you got to come back. You got to say, you know what? All of these things happened beforehand, and now it put me in a condition to where I'm breaking God's laws. So now I got to come back. I got to go back to the root cause. Why and how was I before these things happened to us? And how it is what we bringing out here. Go back to Titus 2. So in that, you got to learn the laws of God is good. Watch this.
Titus chapter 2 and verse 3. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things.
Teachers of the laws of God, teaching the young women how to keep the laws of God. Watch this, read.
That they may teach the young women to be sober.
So be sober, not to be out here drunk. It's okay to drink, but you're not supposed to drink and be drunk. You're supposed to drink in moderation. But what you see out here is what? People having hot girl summers out here, right? People turning up. They want to be, there's thoughts and all kind of garbage going on out here. God says you're not supposed to participate in that. Watch this, read.
To be sober, to love their husbands.
So to love their husbands, because why? Sisters have to be taught what it is to be a wife and how to love their husband. It's not a natural thing. I know that they teach that in the school system and in the commercials and the TVs and things like that. They make it seem like, oh, love just happens and a family's just formed. But no, God says that you have to be taught how to love a husband. Watch this.
To love their children.
And to love your children. It's not a natural or normal thing just to go out and, oh, I love my children. Because a lot of our sisters believe that loving their children is getting them the best Jordans, getting them all the video games that they want. No, that's not loving your children. Loving your children is instilling the laws of God in their mind, teaching them what it is, what's expected to them, of them as an adult, right? Of keeping the laws and the commandments of God. Watch this, read on.
To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home.
Keepers at home. So guess what? Women ain't supposed to be out here all on the street walking around doing all manner of evil. God didn't create the woman for that. Women are supposed to be keepers at home, raising up the children righteously in the laws of God and taking care of her husband. Watch this, read.
Good, obedient to their own husbands.
Be obedient to who?
Their own husband.
God says you're supposed to be obedient to your husband. But what does this white man teach? He teaches 50-50. You ain't got to listen to your husband. Happy wife, happy life. No, that's garbage in the eyes of the Lord. You understand? God says that the man, he set up an order, which these brothers went over earlier with you. It's God, Christ, man, woman, child. That's the order that God set up. But guess what? This white man, the same way he got you transition into those pants, that's what he's doing in the households now. Changing the order around. Go to Isaiah chapter 29, verse 16. He changed the order around in the households. And guess what it is? It's causing confusion and destruction, sis. So you as a young sister, guess what? You can't fall into the same traps that your mother fell into, that your grandmother fell into. You got to be wise and listen up to the laws and the commandments of God and change your situation. And if you do that, guess what? You're going to live a godly and prosperous life. That's what God said. Watch this, read.
Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 16. Surely your turning of things upside down.
You hear what God said? God says the turning of things upside down. Why? Because the right way is a husband and a wife, and a husband as the head of the household. But now today, guess what? Big mama's the head of the household. When they go in and they want to speak to somebody, they ask for the eldest woman in the household. And that's who the police deal with. Why? Because she knows that she's got all the power and the authority in the household. But God didn't create it like that. So guess what? Things have been turned upside down. Watch this, read.
Your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
So guess what? God said that thing gonna change. That's what we out here to do with the words of God, change. Because now I gotta ask you another question. There's a holiday that's gonna come up in a couple of weeks called Thanksgiving. You celebrate Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving about? Come on, wait. All right, well tell me, I'll tell them.
Bring it up.
What's Thanksgiving about? My brother, what's Thanksgiving about?
No, eating.
Eating, right? Hey, us as black folks, that's what we think. I remember when I was growing up, I didn't care. I was ready to eat on Thanksgiving, right? I didn't know none of the meaning on what it meant, what the turkey meant, what the cranberry sauce meant. I just knew that thing was delicious. And I couldn't wait. And I'd go to my grandma's house, I go to my auntie's house, I go to my cousin's house, I go to my homeboy's house. That was my plan for Thanksgiving. I'd map it out, where I'm gonna go. But guess what? We didn't know what those things mean. All those things have meaning. And you know what it is? It's the destruction of the so-called Native American Indians from the tribe of Gad. That's what it is. That body represents their body. That stuffing represents the breasts that they used to cut off of our sisters and use to play baseball. And when we eat, that's what we're doing, is celebrating the destruction of our brothers and our sisters right here. My sister right here. That's what it is. And we did these things in ignorance. Why? Because the white man taught us to do these things. And the reason why the white man's able to do that is because we walk contrary to God. We as a people walk contrary to God because of slavery. Go to Jeremiah 17:4. I'm going to show you. Because some of our holy days, we don't keep them. We don't know them. Let me ask you a question. What's a holy day in the Bible? Give me one that's in the Bible. Because, what's your name, bro? Come here. What's your name?
Jamal.
Jamal? Okay. All right, Jamal. So, what's a holy day in the Bible? Have you heard of holy days in the Bible, sis? Sabbath is one, my sister. That's very good. When is the Sabbath? You're not sure. We're going to get that for you, but that's good. Give me another one, though. That's it. But you know what? You know when Christmas is? Christmas. You know Christmas, right? You know Thanksgiving. You know your birthday. You know 4th of July. You know Halloween. You see this? You see how we know all of these things that's not in the Bible? Because why? These people hate God. They hate God. They hate God's people. And they hate God's high holy days. So that's the reason why they come up and they establish these other false pagan holidays. And you know what? In our ignorance, we celebrate them. And we follow them. But guess what? It's time for our people to wake up out of sleep. Give me that. Give me that Isaiah 52:1. And we're going to go back to Jeremiah. Isaiah 52:1. It's high time for you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians to wake up out of sleep. To hell with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the destruction of your people. The celebration of the destruction of your own damn people. And guess what? Christmas is the same damn thing. That Santa Claus, guess what? You celebrating the destruction of the so-called Moors, who are Israelites according to the Bible. Watch this, read that.
Isaiah chapter 52 and verse 1. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion.
You hear what God says, sis? He says awake. Why? Because we in the dead, we sleep. God says it's time for you to wake and put on your beautiful garments. What's your beautiful garments? The laws of God. So next time we see you, we want to see you in a nice, beautiful, modest dress. That's what we want to see you. We want to see you walk around with your head covered. We want to see you keeping the Sabbath on the Sabbath day. Because that's what God said that you're supposed to do. Don't follow after these customs out here that these people got us doing. Because guess what? It's caused us nothing but pain and destruction. Read that.
Put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city.
So God said these things, the laws of God, that is our strength. Our strength is not voting. We don't give a damn about what happens on November 5th. Because guess what? It's the evil side of two coins. We don't care. Either one of those people win, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are still going to be oppressed. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a different level of oppression, right? But the same end result's going to be is that we're going to be oppressed. So we don't give a damn about no dang voting. We don't want to hear about voting. We don't want to hear about marching. We don't want to hear about church. We don't want to hear about nothing, none of that garbage. We want to hear about who we really are and the laws in God that we are supposed to keep. That's what we want to hear about, because that's the only way that things is going to change for us. You understand? Go to Jeremiah 17:4. Watch this.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage.
God said even Jeremiah himself, he was going to come back and he was going to be discontinued from his heritage. That's what you've been done. That's what happened to you. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to all of us. Because before I knew about this Bible, guess what? I was in the streets doing whatever. On the Sabbath day, I'd be out there going to the club, go to the club. It'd be the same thing day in and day out. You go Friday night, you go to the club, you stay there all night, you get up on Saturday, you clean your car, and then you go out, you do the same thing over and over. That's what it was for us. There's no insight, there's no development, there's no growth, there's no communication with God, because why? This white man has separated us from that. Actually, to be honest with you, to hell with the white man. Our iniquities separate us from God. You understand? Our sins. So we got to come out of that, sis. All right? So now go to, what I had you holding? 17:4? Yeah, read that real quick.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
So what's the heritage that God gave you? Give me that in Sirach. What's the heritage that God gave us? The laws of God. The laws of God is our heritage, sis. Our laws of God is able to direct us and tell us what's right and wrong. The laws of God let us know who our enemies are. Because we're walking around right now as so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians. We are walking around on a battlefield and we have not identified who the enemy are. That's what we do every day. We go to work, we go to school, we go, and we don't know who our enemy is. And guess what? He's sitting right in plain sight in front of you. Watch that. Read this.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 17 and verse 11. Beside this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for inheritance.
He said he gave us law of life for heritage, brother. So guess what? We got to keep the commandments of God. That is our heritage. The laws of, guess what? It's the laws of life. Outside of that, it's death.
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.